What's up, everybody, and welcome to a brand new episode of Party Chat. I am Matt, that is Ash, and that is Dan.
Hello.
And we are going to be talking about Uncharted 4 today. 1 week later than initially planned.
Yeah.
But it's given everyone plenty of time to play the game. We're going to get into it in big details, full reviews, spoilers, everything in just a moment. But if you are new to Party Chat, normally it is a 15-20 minute topical conversation that we have every single Wednesday. Pretty much anything goes. Sometimes we'll have review discussions when we've all played a game. Sometimes it will be lists, and sometimes it might be something newsworthy. But this week, Uncharted, obviously, was always going to take precedence.
Yeah, we've been waiting for this for a while,
So, get ready to hear nothing but Uncharted 4 for the next... It's probably going to be longer than normal. We say 15-20 normally. I would imagine a little bit longer on here. But before we dive into any full big spoilers, for those of you out there that maybe haven't finished the game but are just desperate to know what we thought of the game because you value our opinions so much, we'll give you a little quick 1 minute, if that, summary of our thoughts of the game. I'll go first. It's fucking awesome. Ash?
it's good.
Only good?
No, it's truly amazing. I think from a story perspective, it delivers. Expectations were here, delivery was up here. It was tremendous.
I think it's the best of the four.
Yeah.
That's how good I think it is. It really is. There's not really any criticisms I have about it. Dan?
I'm going to be unpopular here. I didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It's like, game-wise, beautiful. General gameplay, okay.
That's
But
Uncharted.
it's Uncharted, yeah, so it's like, okay, fair enough. I knew what I was getting with that. But it ended, and I was like, cool. As in, not like, wow.
Did you not cry?
No.
Was that just me?
I got a little choked up.
Yeah.
I didn't in any shape. It's like, alright, it ended, cool.
He's made of stone.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
No,
You're allowed an opinion. Like,
it's
you don't
just
have
like,
to...
I think it's a good game. It just didn't... I'm not like, oh my god, amazing about it.
That's fair enough. So, those are our brief opinions on it. Very, very quickly, we want to get into full kind of spoiler territories of the game now. So, you probably want to turn it off before we reveal Drake's death and ruin it for you. So, there you go.
If you don't want to know anything about the game, story related or anything, you're probably best to switch off now and maybe come back when you finish the game, just to see our true thoughts in depth, I think, on the rest of the game.
Yeah. So I will kick it off before we get into the story, because we're going to try and go through the story chronologically. Uncharted is all about the story, so that's where we are going to focus our time. But I will completely agree with you, Dan, is that as a third-person shooter or action game, there are better ones. It's not the best.
Yeah, I did say to you, and I said it last week, I feel in some respects my experience of it was probably tainted a bit by The Division, on the fact that I got so used to a very in-depth, very good cover-based shooter, and so on, and the controls were mirrored in certain cases. So I was unfortunately using Division controls when I should have been using Uncharted controls. So Nathan Drake would run up to cover and then just do a little jump.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of the time, that was on me. I accept that. Little bit was just me not getting into my head quickly enough the controls, and some frustration came from
you
that.
just got to remember that Uncharted,
It's an exploration game for shoot a second, and that's just it. So it's like, I accept that, and I
you've
knew
got
that
your
going in.
you've got your other means as well that they introduced into this game. You've got the grappling hook. We've got a lot more the sort of sliding down, and there's a lot more going on in terms of action.
I'm glad that this time they went, hey look, here's our new thing, the grappling hook. And they forced that into the game a lot more than in Uncharted 3, where it's like, hey look, here's our new melee system, when they forced that into the game all the time, because the grappling hook was actually quite fun to use.
It was.
Whereas the melee system in Uncharted 3 was just like, get it over with, my thumb's tired.
Yeah.
Which is why this year I turned on hold down button rather than repeatedly mash it for all the mini games.
Yeah.
So it's just like, I'm not wrecking my controller over lifting gates all the time.
I found I used a lot less melee in this game than I've probably used ever, because obviously they introduced another thing. They introduced, in addition to the grappling hook, which is awesome. It does make for much more kind of diverse, kind of traversing across the world.
The one downside to the grappling hook is the fact it acts like a tape measure, and as soon as it releases, it goes back to your side. But then again, games like that, they have to do it that way. They give you a thing. It's not like you have one there, it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they introduced the stealth.
Yep.
Taking elements from The Last of Us. The Last of Us is... You can see there's a lot of influence from The Last of Us in this game. With the stealth, which is good. I like that there are now encounters where you can actually do it complete stealth. There are a couple of trophies for it. For example, in the cemetery in Scotland, there is a trophy for getting through the cemetery after you've come up, after you've solved that first treasure. You have to get through and get to the actual cathedral.
Yeah.
There's a trophy for doing that. And there's also a trophy for when you get marooned in chapter 13. So basically after the prologue bit that you did, you get washed up on the beach and then you go through. That was what we first saw at PSX.
Yeah, that was
2 years ago. Where it does the swinging on the hook. Yeah. So there was that.
It's like that bit in the game. Like, I don't want to jump too far ahead because I know we're doing the story bit chronologically.
Yeah.
But it's just like I got to that bit in the game. It's like I've seen this before, but it didn't twig until after the bit where Sam grabs him. Was like, oh yeah, that was the reveal. But I was like, why does this feel familiar? I couldn't place it until it's like, oh yeah, now I remember.
It's like, God damn it, they're just regurgitating Uncharted 3, aren't they?
Because I was just like instantly with the hook thing. It's like I know what I'm doing. I don't need teach. Like,
I know.
Yeah.
Why do I know this?
But the hiding in sort of foliage and stuff, that was all something new as well. You know, that's not something I think
I would have liked it. Maybe there was, and I just never found it. But like the way in The Last of Us, you got things you can throw to distract people. I would have.
Yeah, we didn't have that.
I would have liked.
That would have been nice
if there had just been that little something in there as well.
Yeah.
Just to help the stealth element work a bit more.
Yeah. But I think obviously whilst it would have been nice, they were still focusing that stealth hasn't really been Nate's game.
Plus, it's more of a run and gun game rather than
a stealth game.
Yeah, because ammo was limited in The Last of Us, so you had to make things move. Yeah.
So where do we start?
So let's go. We've got away the gameplay. We'll start at the beginning. We'll start not with a prologue because that's technically kind of later on in the game. But we start with a young Nathan and a young Sam. Obviously, Sam is introduced for the first time, and we get a story of where they came from, which is pretty cool. And it's basically that's just getting used to the grappling hook and the jumping and the way
your standard tutorial level of any game, basically.
So we had that. Do we all like? This isn't the only scene in the game. There is one further on. Again, we might as well touch on it now because it is still in the storyline. So we learn that Drake's in an orphanage.
Yeah.
Obviously,
which
Sam,
we knew from
previously anyway. Sam was on the outside, and Sam goes away for a year, and that's why he was being all nice with the bike and stuff that we saw. Yeah. So that maybe ties in. I saw people were asking about, well, where was Sam when Nate met Sully for the first time? So maybe that's the thing. Just tying things together. Is that what happened? Maybe Sam went away, and that's when then.
If I remember rightly, and this ties into the two bits, didn't Nate meet Sully in Brazil?
It was in Brazil or Italy or somewhere.
I'm sure it was Brazil, and like when they were doing the globe spin in like the later part of the young Nate and Sam bits, they're spinning the globe and it's like one more, they're like picking random places to go. And then the last one he spins on and he goes, Brazil. So that obviously helped tie that in.
Yeah.
So we had those moments, and it was quite good. It was interesting to find out that they weren't always Drake's, which because that was also, it was always that he was the heir of Sir Francis, and then we found out that actually they're just a normal family. Well, maybe not.
Well, they don't actually know for sure. That was the thing. Like they took on that persona. But there was like, was their mum who was researching all of it actually stumbled across more, and they just took it, ran with it. Now whether they found out more or not,
But that was quite a nice little insight. Yeah. It really sort of closed off, I think, that question over,
where they come from. Where they come from.
Yeah.
And it helped us understand who this Sam character was. And they tie together nicely the reason of why he's been absent from the first 3 games is there's a scene in a Brazilian, Panamanian prison.
Panama, yeah.
Is it Panamanian?
Yep, it is.
Is that right?
It is Panama, yeah.
No, I know it's Panama, but as I'm saying, is it Panamanian?
Yes, it's Panamanian.
Prison. When they're trying to escape, there's 3 of them, Nate, Sam, and a character called Rafe, who we meet later on in the game.
It's the antagonist for the game, yeah.
Is that it looks like Sam's dead. And that's why he hasn't been in the... What it seems to be is that's set pretty much right before Uncharted 1, roughly. Because they basically say that it's been 15 years to the current day now, which we see...
Exactly, yeah. And to Nate's understanding, Sam died back there when escaping the prison.
He should have followed, really, the first rule of storytelling, isn't it? If you don't actually see them die, they're not dead.
Yeah.
He fell through a roof. Yeah. Nate's fallen through much worse.
But at the time he didn't know that. So what do we? Let's do a quick summary before we move into the game. Like, what do we think of the way they caught us up on everything with Sam? We're happy with all of that. We thought it was good.
Oh god, yeah. I thought it was. They clearly have done their research. They know the Uncharted franchise inside out.
They are the Uncharted franchise.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, they're going to know what they can do and can't do, and I think they tied it all in very nicely with the dates, with where people should have been and were, and whether people were dead, alive, or unsure. It was done well.
So we go and search for this treasure, apparently because Sam's life depends on it. After being pulled out of retirement, we see that was a really cool scene as well, where you're underwater diving for treasure, and you think, Nate's still doing treasure things.
He's doing salvage,
and then you come up and you're like in some like river with like. What bridge was that? Was it?
Oh, they're just in New York, wasn't it?
Was it New York or somewhere? It was some river in some industrial town or city, and he was rescuing copper from a truck that had obviously gone over the bridge and stuff.
Yeah.
But that was really cool because you thought the water looked really tropical. And
it did, and it was quite good. I remember you, and then obviously you sort of cut to the scene where he's stamping whatever in papers, and he's just sat in a little office or whatever, doing that. And I think you, and then he goes home, and he's just this very normal husband working a regular job.
Like you can see the two.
But then,
I was going to say you can see how both him and Elena are both kind of like. We're trying to be normal, but we don't like it as much. It's like the way he takes the mickey out of like what he did that day. He's like, I found a whatever it was vehicle. The locals call it a semi.
Yeah. And of course we go in the attic.
The attic was fun. But this is the thing about Uncharted. This is why I think it's the best. Is that there's just tributes to the franchise everywhere.
Yeah.
Like in all the dialogue and even the trophy names.
Yeah.
In the attic where you go through and you find all these memories from your adventures, and a bit with the gun when you pick up the toy gun and the music starts.
Music cuts, like
the action music.
Yeah, so good.
And there's a trophy if you haven't got it, an easy trophy if you shoot all of the targets. There's about 5 or 6 of them hanging from the ceiling. If you shoot them all, you get a still got it trophy. So. I really love that. When you go downstairs and play Crash Bandicoot on the PlayStation 1 and it gets even better.
Yeah.
That's just so good.
Did either of you beat the high score in the initial run?
Oh, my initial run. The annoying thing is, my initial run was the best run I ever did until about like the 12th time I eventually did it. But I missed out on the high score by like tiny amount. I don't think I got the extra life when I was running through. But there is a trophy for that as well. Did you beat it?
No, I failed miserably.
I failed both times.
The very first time I did it clean, I didn't die, and I was like, I didn't quite get the high score. I think I got like 3,300 or 3,200. So I was like, when I saw there was a trophy for it, I was like, well, how do you get a high score? Like, surely you just don't die. And I couldn't do it again without dying.
Yeah, it's you've got to get most of the fruit. You can't die. You've got to pick up the extra life. And you've got to do it clean.
Yeah, no deaths. So that's another trophy. And then let's
I was just wondering if either of you got the different interaction, which I assume is in the cutscene, because obviously him and Elena are basically using it as a bet.
Yeah.
And obviously every video I've seen is people not beating it.
Oh,
so I was just wondering how the dialogue
goes.
Yeah. See, I beat it in the epilogue.
Yeah, because that's where everyone goes, because it's faster to reset when you do it.
It's a good point. I'd like to know what the dialogue difference is Yeah.
Because that's the thing I always
Because
like.
I think the way it came down, or the way it looked to me anyway, was like that perfect kind of happy life moment
Yeah.
of like
It
just
was
how happy she was at winning over on him on something,
being
and
better than
and
him.
his
at
way
something.
of like
Yes.
trying to fob it off and
Yeah.
so on. That was
Yeah.
And it is very relatable, I think, to everyday
general
life.
interaction. Yeah.
It is. It was a nice moment, I think, and a nice sort of tribute as well to what Naughty Dog have done.
Yeah,
I
I
would-
think that's another thing as well. It's them recognising how far they've come.
Yeah.
I would actually say, and historically we've talked about like the whole Elena Chloe thing. Like after playing Uncharted 4, I'm so happy that
Told you.
like Elena is
Told you.
Elena convinced me in this. She was just so. We'll find out why. But she was amazing throughout.
I'll admit though, from what you did say previously, when you compare that Elena to what you get in this one, there is a big difference.
Yeah.
She's just much more
Rounded character, in all
Yeah.
fairness.
mature. She's a matured person as well. So let's go into the actual adventures now. We do a first, basically, long story short. Because if we go through every chapter, we will be here all day.
We will.
But we go to Italy to steal a relic. We steal it in true Nate fashion. There's a few fun jokes along the way.
There is.
That's our first interaction with Sully, and that was amazing. Him just sitting in an armchair
Yeah.
with a cigar in a tux.
Just
Obviously,
pure
big,
Sully.
big Sully.
Yeah. Sully being Sully.
But after we get that, that was obviously the first real main mission of Current Drake,
Yeah.
which was good. But after that, we then go, long story, we go to Scotland.
Scotland, yeah.
So this is where we first we're on the trail of basically a pirate called Avery and this super ultimate treasure, basically. $400 million worth of treasure is the rumour of the score.
Yeah.
So we go to Scotland. This is where we really first start seeing the sliding mechanics. What did you think of this sliding thing? Like, I thought it was a good thing that they added. I liked that they added it, but I felt it was way overused in the game. It got a bit annoying. It was like,
There was quite a lot of it.
Yeah.
like I like now that you could fall down a mountain without dying. That was like obviously the purpose of it, to make just everything just so you didn't have to like climb down mountains. It was quicker ways to get around.
It was.
The physics didn't work 100% on it, in the sense of sometimes you could actually slide uphill.
But yeah,
If you changed your angle at the right speed,
Oh, I see.
you would go from going down to up.
Oh,
You
right.
could at least straighten up.
Yeah.
Whereas like normally gravity, you'd
I
always.
thought it was fine, and I think what was nice is it made it challenging when you got to the end and you had to like jump, grapple hook, and then grab on a ledge. It was like you had to
Yeah,
get everything.
that's
timing
where it
right.
works.
Yeah,
As in like
It
where
was
it
nice.
puts in other stuff with it.
but slightly overused perhaps.
Yeah.
But we weren't.
Yeah,
we weren't
like
split hairs.
some of the earlier bits where it's like, okay, yeah, you put in this to obviously show us what sliding is,
Yeah.
when a normal grass hill would have worked
yeah.
instead to walk him down to that next little
Yeah,
bit. Kind
because realistically, sliding down those rocks would really hurt, and you'd cut yourself up quite bad at
Yeah.
that speed.
oh yeah, it's like if they want.
Oh,
to
Nate
do
would
it-
be. There's so many times where it's like, how the fuck are you standing?
Yeah,
It's like even when he's, you know,
I think that's probably one of the reasons why I didn't like this as much. Is throughout the whole course of the game, I think there's more Nate should be dead moments
Yeah.
in this episode.
it was a lot more.
than
It was
in
like
this
Tomb Raider
game
style, wasn't it?
than there
Yeah.
was in the previous one, because like the number of high things he fell off this time and fell into and bounced off, and
I think the purpose was they were trying to toy with us to be like, will they actually kill Nate? Will they kill
Yeah.
Nate? Will they kill Nate?
yeah,
Because there was a lot of times where he could have died.
Yeah, and we'll come to a funny moment later actually with Elena.
But yeah, so we find a puzzle. We see that apparently possibly the treasures. We find a grave. It's not in the grave in an underground tunnel. We then find out there might be in a cliff up on the hill. So then we head on up to there, and there's a couple of fun puzzles. Well, I say fun.
they're alright.
Puzzles
They
and stuff.
weren't. They weren't.
The
hard.
cross. I like the cross one.
Yeah, the
With
thing,
the water.
the good thing
Yeah.
about the puzzles this time was if you paid attention to a fact early on,
yeah,
most of them were fairly easy.
yeah, you
because
gotta read your
it's
notes.
just like this is the order that the three people were on the crosses.
Yeah.
Just remember who was in which one, and then the puzzles will make sense to you.
yeah.
So they were good. I like the puzzles. I don't think they were. There weren't too many puzzles in this game. I feel maybe this is just history blowing me, but I feel that there was a lot more treasures in, a a lot more puzzles in older Uncharted games.
I thought that. There were only about 5 in this one.
Like proper puzzles.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got the 2 there. You got the 1 to find the
Yeah,
cave.
you got the Roman numerals on the
You got
wall.
the cave. Oh, yeah, Roman was right at the start, and you got the 1 to find the cave. You got the 1 in the cave. You got the walkway ones where you have to walk on the ground and not blow up and die.
Yes.
That annoyed me for a second because I was reading something upside down. So I was like,
Symbols
like
work,
number of times I was like, why isn't that working? Surely I can just go diagonal because that one should be. Oh no, I've got that the wrong way around.
Yeah.
So obviously, in true Nate fashion, the treasure was never going to be in the first place we looked. It's not in the cave.
Yeah.
Can you just
We find
imagine
this-
if that was the game? It's just like, oh, we found it. Let's go home.
So the cave,
And then you go back to scuba diving for 17 more chapters.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Scuba Simulator.
Yeah.
So that was a really cool puzzle of how it was set up though.
Yeah.
We then head off to Madagascar, which was the gameplay they launched, kind of released just before the launch of the game. And just with everything, like Scotland looked amazing, but Madagascar looked even better.
Yeah, I mean, wow. You know, some of the scenic views you had as well.
When you're driving down in your car.
Yeah, it was impressive.
So good.
It was impressive. And that's what we had with this game is you just had so much great visual content.
Yes.
It was amazing. Breathtaking almost for a game.
I suppose what we should say, we haven't really touched on, we kind of glossed over it when we were in Italy, but that's when we first met the people who... We're obviously, again, in true Uncharted fashion, not the only people chasing the treasure. There was Rafe, which you
Rafe
touched
is back,
on earlier. We were partnering with him when we were back in Panama, because this is the treasure that we were looking for all the way back then.
Yeah.
And then Nate gave up when Rafe and Nate were doing it together, and then Nate gave up after
They had a falling out because they
dead.
had...
Because Rafe basically went crazy for it.
Yep.
Rafe
True
was-
Uncharted fashion again.
He's also hired a guns for hire mercenary called Nadine Ross, which Sully
her
seems
group,
to know,
which-
and
yeah.
Shoreline, who are basically all the enemies you're killing.
Yeah, it's your cannon fodder for this particular game.
Yeah.
But she's a badass.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's a fight scene in Italy where like Ash was like, I can't hit her. It's like, yeah, you're not supposed to be able to hit her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, is it possible? There's a scene later on where even you and Sam are fighting her, and she's still kicking both your asses.
Yeah.
Like, she's so...
She's badass.
In fact, like, a little bit of a spoil... Well, it's all spoilers anyway, but you never actually defeat her. You can't defeat her.
Yeah.
It's like one of the few antagonists in the Uncharted game that you don't actually ultimately defeat.
Yeah.
The only reason she's not an issue at the end of the game is because she chooses to walk away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not because you've managed to convince her to switch
I-
sides or
yeah.
you've beaten her.
And I thought that was a nice touch as well. But,
The way they do that,
yeah.
So we're in Madagascar. That's a lot of beautiful scenes where you're driving around. We see driving.
A lot of driving.
A lot of driving.
Yeah.
The bit in...
It's better than walking it though.
Yeah.
Well, it is, but
I liked the driving. I thought it felt good. I liked the winch, which was a good
the
little
winch was
mechanic.
good. Yeah.
I think the
And a
controls
little
were
dialogue that was
Yeah.
going along the
The
whole
controls were good for that. It could have been a very horrible, clunky driving thing. But it's
Yeah.
like as soon as you're in, it's just like this is the driving moment. I know exactly where the controls should be. The controls are there.
Yeah.
And I'd like to add as well, for we haven't really touched on, is the level design in these games is so good. Like, it looks so huge and vast and open, but you know where to go, and that is the sign of...
I will argue one point there. Like most of the time,
Okay.
I found there were certain times where it wasn't clear where you go. Like Italy, for example, when once you'd done the power bit and so on, you're trying to escape and get back to the.
I found that really, really easy.
I found it not to be clear. I
But
found my
after-
way because the level will drive you that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like it wasn't clear to me instantly. Right, this
No.
is the direction you need to be going.
But that's obviously always, for the most part, you'd agree,
Yeah.
but the level
Yeah.
design was
Yeah.
really good.
I mean, like
the
I
most
think
part,
also
I'd
as
say
well.
it was.
I said to you as well. I was missing the fact that everything you had to climb on was yellow.
Yeah.
From like Uncharted 2, simply because sometimes I couldn't see initially where the handholds were or where I was
Yeah.
going. So it's like,
But you
tell
don't,
me.
You don't really want, in an Uncharted game, you don't really want a point-to-point kind of journey. You
No.
do want to be able to have a little look around. You've got your treasures, which obviously you're going to try and find anyway. Your journal entries, which of course was introduced in this
Yeah.
game. Journal notes and entries, is that right? That's
Journal
what they're called?
notes and journal entries, yeah.
Yeah, so all these things that were introduced in Uncharted 4 that really you need that vast area to be able to spread them out, and they're not going to
Yeah.
be on the path to where you're going.
Oh, exactly. And like, I get that, and like for the most part, I think it was fine. And there are certain levels and certain parts of levels where it's like pick your path, as opposed to direct. And that's what I like. I like it when it's like that, but it's just like for Italy in my one, maybe I just didn't hit the button to focus me on the right direction at the right point. Was one where I found my initial direction of finding my bearings was off. All the other levels, I kind of knew. Where I was heading. Maybe not to the point, but I knew the direction. Even if I was, doing that kind of thing, I still knew I had to get up there.
I think you might be half right, because I might, from memory, because I've played through the game so many times now, that the first time I played it, I think I was maybe a little lost, but then I fell off and died, and then the checkpoint kind of put me in like a place that was helpful. Yeah. So maybe I kind of quote unquote cheated my way to.
But as it went on, it got better for me and that sort of thing.
So Madagascar, once again, lots of shooting, lots of driving, lots of great dialogue between. This is now Sam, Nate, and Sully. Yeah. Elena's not with us because Nate has lied to Elena about this whole thing. He says that he's on some job with his expedition company in Malaysia.
The Malaysia job.
So obviously lying to Elena at the moment.
That's the one bit of the story I didn't like. I feel like they put unnecessary conflict in there just for conflict's sake.
No, I would not agree. I think that then showed later on the strength of Nate and Elena's relationship.
It was there was a purpose to it.
They resolved it in a good way, but I feel like it's almost.
I know what you mean. You felt bad, like Nate.
Because
shouldn't do that.
To me, it would have been like if you're in a strong, good relationship, you would have been like, by the way, here's my brother. You know all the shit we've been through in the past. He's in that kind of shit right now. I need to go help.
No, because you can tell he knows, even from the thing in the attic, he doesn't want the life he's got now. He's done it for Elena, to try and be normal and to be safe. But he misses that old life. He has an opportunity to go into it, but he doesn't. It's not the whole not introducing Sam. That's glossed over. But I think he doesn't tell her because one, he doesn't want to break his promise to her, but also two, he's scared that she won't let him go. And so I think it makes sense.
That's why I say they resolved it in a good way. Yeah. But before they got to that resolution, it felt to me a bit like you're going about this purely so that the writers can have some conflict, and therefore everyone watching can go, in terms of their relationship.
Yeah, but that was never going to happen. They were never going to break up. So we saw, obviously, not again in Madagascar. We move on, and then we move to the next location, which is
just islands at this point.
Well, no, because we're still in. I don't know if this might be Madagascar, but this is the town.
Oh, sorry, we're still there. Yeah.
We're at the town. We got the clock tower, which is an amazing puzzle, really good puzzle there.
Yeah,
a couple of really good puzzles. The clock tower and then the pirate painting portrait things. That was a really clever puzzle.
The painting.
Yeah, when you go
with
down
the stars.
Oh, yes,
you know, before like in true Uncharted fashion, where you get to the top and you go, everything is falling down once I ring this.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like because you can tell when like in this game, like every time you got up to a high point. And you knew the game wasn't going to make you climb back down. Yeah. So it's like to save time. So it's like, in a minute, he's falling.
Yeah. So we then move to a load of islands. That looks amazing as well. Tropical.
Does look good.
Mm-hmm. Once again,
puzzle.
Treasure is then moved off to a further island that we go to. That's when we have the prologue. I'm just going to blast through the story.
I like the fact they didn't make you redo the prologue.
Well, yeah.
In the sense of like, because in Uncharted 2 where you fell, you climbed up the train, and then when you got back, you redid the train.
Correct.
Yeah. This time they've skipped it.
Correct. Yeah. So you know where you are, but you don't have to do it again.
Yeah.
Yes.
So this is when we're with just Sam now, and I thought those were some really good moments in the tropical islands and everything, and the boat, and then we're marooned and we go through that area. We've seen the PSX. You don't need us to talk about that. We then. Just after that bit where we reunite with Sam at the end of that trailer is then we finally find Libertalia.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Which again looks amazing. And there's some really good kind of optional conversations to be had there.
There are, yes.
And everything. But then we're about to get to end of Act 2. So the moment where Act 2 ends and there's the big plot twist that's going to throw everything out before everything all comes nicely back together at the end of the third act. But we then find out after a battle with Shoreline that Rafe actually was the one that broke Sam or got Sam out of prison. This Alcazar story that he made up that his drug lord had broke him out of prison and forced him to go and get this treasure was all a lie. The only reason Sam was after it is because he wanted the treasure. So basically Nate had been lied to.
Yeah.
And
his brother
I
brother
don't know
lied to
about you two, but it's like as it was getting up to that bit, it was like the Sam is not on the level twist is coming. As in, like, to me, I just knew that was going to happen at some point in the game.
You felt something wasn't quite right, didn't you?
You knew something had to happen. I didn't know it was necessarily going to be that, but we talked about this, I know, last week briefly. And when I was playing it through on Crushing, like, there was these little things in conversations that maybe I wasn't quite picking up the first time because maybe I was focusing on
the game rather than what was
like,
being said all the time.
Because there's a lot of conversation when you're traversing.
Yeah.
You don't always pay attention to
so
it.
you don't always, which is stupid because you should pay attention to it. Like, it's part of the story. But then he says a lot of things. It's the bit where he picks you at the top because that's where we've been blown off our ship, and basically Nate's like, well, let's go. Like, we don't need this treasure.
Yeah.
We'll work it out. And like Sam's just like, no, that's fine.
Yeah.
And it looks like he's about to come clean at that moment, and then decides against it.
I will have to have pay attention better on my second playthrough.
So then Nate nearly dies in true Nate fashion.
Off a cliff again.
Off a cliff. Because
why not?
Well, why not? Elena saves him because she's been bought by Sully because she's finally found out about it. And this was these couple of things as we're moving. We now know where the treasure is. Avery's got this kind of neighbourhood behind Libertalia, which is like the founders of all these pirates that have pulled all their treasure together.
But in true pirate fashion, they couldn't get on and they all turned on each other.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what you're discovering as you're going through, and it's...
But those 2 or 3 chapters with Elena are awesome.
Yeah.
As well, because it's that moment where you're working on your relationship because she's obviously seriously pissed at him.
Yeah.
And everything.
It was a nice touch with the relationship. I must say, I mean, looking at the entire game, my favourite thing about it is the Nate and Elena relationship. It's tremendous.
It's so good. Like those chapters with her, she doesn't have much game screen time, but she uses it really well.
Yeah, I'd agree.
And then closing up, basically, when we don't quite find the treasure. We nearly get there, and then in true Uncharted fashion, there's another big fight scene with loads of cars, and then Sully's come to save us. Oh no, we go and save Sam because he'd been
Save Sam.
We save him from his. We find this like ship graveyard, which is like that's the big final gunfight of the game.
Yeah,
like, you don't realise it at the time, but that is the big final gunfight. And we're gonna leave. We decide because obviously we now know that we don't need the treasure.
Yeah,
we somehow got out of that alive, and we go to leave. We're nearly at the plane,
but Sam's
like, "No, I'm going for the treasure." So he runs back,
treasure mad, and Nate has to charge her or go after him.
Well, initially all 3 of you go after him, but for a reason of
the good thing about that actually was it was Elena who led that.
Yeah,
it was like Nate was just like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah,
and then she was like, no, he's going to get himself killed.
Can I just say at this point, this is one part of the game that didn't make any sense to me because they push the cart up against the wall.
Yeah.
Nate jumps over the wall.
Yeah.
And then the cart.
The handbrake.
Back.
So he puts the handbrake on. It's a really heavy cart.
Yeah.
They put the handbrake on because it's on a slope.
Yeah, I know the cart.
But then the handbrake breaks.
And then they say they can't get up there. Well, he's got his grappling hook.
The number of times in that game where Sam's got his grappling hook and he instead makes Nate walk all the way around.
Yeah.
That's the one problem with that mechanic is it gets forgotten.
It made me chuckle.
That's a point that would make sense.
Yeah.
So we go and chase down Sam. We see Avery's ship.
We do.
Which is where we now know the treasure is. It looks amazing. This is where we then go find Sam and we come to the big showdown. Where we said before, Nadine's like, well, you can stay here and burn. Because obviously the ship's on fire. It can't just be a normal ship. It has to be a ship that's on fire and sinking and all that.
Gunpowder's going off and all sorts.
So what do you think of the final fight scene?
It wasn't as hard as I was expecting it to be.
I think the biggest thing for me was I had to map the fact that left was triangle.
I know.
Rather than square.
Do you know what I did? I actually turned my controller like that. And I had it like that.
But then he's still left
But
and
then
top.
that circle with
It's not like left and right.
that's what I mean. So like, I would almost have preferred that if I swapped to the triggers for that particular thing, just to get it in my head.
But it wasn't that difficult.
It wasn't.
Sort of
No,
timing.
I didn't.
It was fine.
I didn't have to restart.
I would say it's one of the easiest, if not the easiest,
boss
battles.
Wait till you do it on
Uncharted.
crushing then, and you get hit once and you die.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, admittedly,
That might be hard.
one of the reasons that it's probably the easiest is because it doesn't actually include any supernatural elements in this game.
Yeah.
That's one thing I was really happy about, that there was no supernatural. Because we were joking about when are the ghost pilots coming out.
Yes. Yeah.
But there was no supernatural.
And I like that. That's one
Yeah.
thing I really do like, and I almost wish, in one sense, the others almost followed a similar thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, a lot of the supernatural myth behind it, but then it turns out to not really be anything. That's what I would almost have liked.
Exactly.
Instead of, you know, the super monsters from wherever.
So eventually,
So we defeat Wraith.
Yeah.
And then we obviously don't get the treasure. We go away and then cut.
But there's the point of Sam is trapped. Will Sam drown? You got to remember there's that moment.
So did anyone think that Sam was going to die in that moment?
No.
I thought he might actually die.
I thought he would.
But yeah, it looks like they're going to leave. He's going to have to leave him because he's trapped and can't get out, and the ship's going down.
Yeah.
But they managed to free him, and they all get out alive. Fast forward to the future. Nate, Elena, now at home on a beach, private beach. They obviously did all right for themselves. Maybe they did steal some treasure.
Well, they got to do the Malaysia job, so, you know, they clearly paid off.
Paid off. And they have a kid, which we meet Cassie.
Cassie.
And
a massive, massive dog.
if you don't notice, do you notice the name of the dog?
I did not. I tried to see. I didn't hear anything. I didn't notice.
See the name of the dog.
Okay, so there's a bit early on in the game where you're going through the market with Victor. You know where the lemur steals your apple?
Yeah.
Well, right after that, after the lemur steals your apple, he makes a comment about saying like how, like Nate's like, oh, next time I'm just gonna get a dog, and then saying he's like, oh, like maybe I'll name it Victor.
Ah.
So
Okay.
yeah, it was actually. Now I'm gonna get this wrong now, which is really bad. But it's not actually called Victor because I think it's a female dog. So I think it might be called like Sully, possibly.
I don't know.
I can't remember.
I will have a look.
Maybe.
It's-
But
I can't
I did notice that
But
when
it's-
Cassie read a note, she referred to Sully as Victor
Yeah.
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah.
his or what everyone knows him as Sullivan or
Yeah.
Sully. So
So what do you think of the ending then? Obviously, you got the happy family.
Yeah.
Sam and Victor are still treasure hunting because that's what they do. They can't give that up.
I loved it. I just thought it's what the game deserved. I think it was just, for me, I mean, I've been so into the Uncharted story from the very beginning, and I just think it tied everything off nicely. It was one of those, you know, happy ever after kind of situations and stories.
I also what I liked about the fifth. It started cementing in the idea that Cassie's already in on this treasure hunting thing.
It did.
Well, she is now, yeah.
Well,
'cause
but even before she knew about it,
Magazine.
she was on the front of a magazine and stuff, and so she knew in one sense what her family did,
Yeah.
but not the
extent
of the
Correct.
slightly more shady side of things.
And again, yeah, I mean, we have the wardrobe being opened and the artifacts in there, you know, very similar to the attic scene. But you know, you could see that, you know, at that point in the scene with Cassie, that Nate was older, Elena was older, and they just, you know, they're your perfect family, you know, family unit, and yeah, I thought it was great.
I thought it was a really good ending as well. Pretty much for
Yeah.
almost the exact same things you say. Just everything about it. Like it was like a perfect ending to a story in the fact that it was a tribute to itself throughout.
Yes, it was.
But not in a cheesy or corny
I
way.
like the fact that not every character from the previous games made an appearance. That they name dropped them, so they name dropped Cutter and they name dropped Chloe.
Yeah.
But it wasn't like a going round visiting everyone, Nate's
Just for
final
the sake of
send
it.
off.
Yeah.
Because if they'd done that, then I would have felt it was inclining more to him dying.
Yeah.
Because it's like almost like him getting to say goodbye to everyone.
Yeah.
Whereas like this, they just made it like, yeah, these people aren't turning up.
So I think we were we were all wrong with our ending predictions. I think you said that he was going to be like in a hospital or something.
Yeah, I basically...
I thought Sully would die.
You thought Sully would die.
Yeah.
I think I said that... I don't think I said that anyone would die, but I said I thought something would have to happen, like there'd be something definitive. And I thought I maybe... Not quite with you, but I decided with you that it couldn't all end happily.
And it did.
And it did.
Which is secretly what we all wanted, I think.
It is.
Yeah.
You know, nobody wanted to see anybody die.
And I think, the reason I went with what I did was because they'd said they wanted to lock it in a way that Nate wouldn't continue down doing the same
that
thing
was
he
the
was.
thing.
And they've done it in the whole, here's his family, here's his kid, he's raising people, he's running a business now kind of thing. They've locked him in a certain way.
He has no
That
reason
Yeah,
to
and
go after
it also
treasure.
means that like that span from whenever Cassie is born to however old she is in the actual game, because they don't actually say,
Yeah.
No.
kind of thing, is like she's locked in there. So it's like it's almost like, well, you're not gonna put an extra game at this point because
They also...
someone's got to take care of the kid. So it's
the
going
story,
to be...
well, it's not just so much the kid. I think it's through the storytelling of the final adventure. There are moments where Nate already realizes in himself that he just shouldn't be doing this anymore. So it's not just what's happened. Even without the epilogue, you could say that
Oh yeah.
you could tell that Nate didn't need it anymore.
That was it. Yeah, that was enough.
There was moments in the story where he was like, "That's it." Nate of old would have never turned away from that treasure. He would have been like Sam. He would have gone after the treasure.
To be honest though, here's the one thing. Because there's no supernatural stuff, and because it's not all like been sucked into the nether this time round, why didn't he just take his company back to dig it out?
That's, well, I don't know.
All that's happened is the mountain's fallen on it.
I thought were they not? Was that not what they were hinting at with Elena's?
No, that was the Malaysia job. They got the permits. So the
Oh,
thing
the Malaysia
he
job.
originally turned down,
Yes.
because it wasn't legal.
Yeah,
They took
Yeah,
over
Sam
yeah,
Jameson's salvaging company, so they could go and salvage it.
and Sam still got some of the gold out.
yeah.
That's
true.
why.
Yeah,
True.
and that's how they bought it. But it's like that was almost like the one thing I think they could have hinted at, because this was the one treasure that was still there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
unlike
true.
all the others that have just been destroyed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like Nate said towards the end of the game to Sam, you've got to know what to go after and what to let go.
Yeah.
What's important, prioritize, in other words. And clearly hinting at the fact that nothing was more important to him than
In
Elena,
fact, yeah.
which was nice.
So, closing up, if you have one moment from the game that really stands out to you and you think is your favourite moment or the most spectacular moment or just a moment, what was it for you? Is it just all the stuff with Elena?
I think it's just, for me it is the relationship with Nate and Elena, without question. The way it is written, even the way they look at one another, the way that Elena would look at him almost as if she, could just burst into tears, or that, you could see that she just really loves him, and that he loves her.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect story.
How about for you, Dan?
Bit of an old romantic, me.
No, I kind of agree with that, and it's like it is that bit after like the Crash Bandicoot bit.
Yeah.
That is just like it's
Yeah.
like one of the best scenes in the entire game in terms of like interaction between people.
Yeah.
I'm going to go on a completely different area to you. I think my favourite, because I was playing through it again for the third time this morning, doing all the treasures and stuff, and it was just there's a scene that I've had, and it's so good. It's on chapter 20, after the ship graveyard,
Yeah.
where that car is chasing you again through the streets and you're running away from it.
Yeah.
And it's just like watching it, and it's just like, not just that particular scene, but it just, at that moment it's hitting me as like, no one does action set pieces as well as Naughty Dog. Like, there is so
That's
much
true.
happening on here.
Yeah.
Like, this car is chasing its speed, there's explosions, the way it bursts through like the granite wall, and the wall breaks and everything. It's just like, looks so fucking good.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, it makes you realise and appreciate, watching all the credits. And I did sit there and watch the credits for 15 minutes.
yeah.
And, not just had them on TV and was busy doing things. I watched them and I read through them, and, just seeing what you've got
I
people doing.
really did like that slate where they did the whole.
With Amy Hennig.
Yeah,
Amy
I
Hennig.
loved it.
huge
I loved
appreciation
it.
for.
I was just
like,
that's why I was going to
Yeah.
move on to and say, how they thanked her, for
contribution,
everything
yeah.
that she's put towards the Uncharted franchise, and I thought that was a really nice touch.
Yep. So I think pretty much all of the general consensus that it is still a special game.
Yeah.
And Platinum, Ash?
It will be, yes, as with the other 3 games.
One question though, like, because you were such a fan of Chloe, do you dislike the fact that she wasn't in the final game at all, or do you kind of feel that because of how everything went, it was better she wasn't there?
I think after 3, you already knew that it's like the end of 3 was pretty definitive. Is Chloe like basically said to Nate, it's like,
yeah,
you know, that's
you
knew that Chloe's story was told over 2 and 3. That was her story. That's all that needed to be said. She didn't need a place in 4. And I think if she had been there, it would have just been it would have been rehashing the same thing they've already done of this kind of Uncharted. Drake's evolved, he's matured, he's married now. There's no love triangle.
No, I didn't mean so much for the love triangle side of things. I just mean as the character, as in like someone.
It wasn't necessary.
You know, like almost as if Elena could have rounded up all of Nate's old friends as a come and help him last bit Act 3 moment.
Yeah. I don't want to.
I like the fact.
I'm not like the sentiment for the sake of sentiment.
No, I like the fact that they didn't do that.
Yeah. And me. I liked it. It wasn't necessary, so I thought it was fine. But yeah, all round for me, I mean, it gets 5 stars for me. It's a fantastic game.
You got my 5 stars in my quick review, and I like I said, I've played through it, but I'm still going to play through it a couple more times. And not just because I need to get those trophies, but because I actually do generally enjoy playing the story.
Yeah.
And every time you play it, because there's so many different references everywhere. I mean, there's 193 collectibles in this game.
Yeah.
Like 109 trophies, and then 30 odd optional conversations, and then 30 odd journals and entries. So like you read all of those, you look at all of those. You know, there's even like there's a pennant in the game which you find which has got like the firefly symbol on. That's one of the treasures and stuff.
That's nice.
And on the back, the name of it says Druckley, which is like Druckley and Bruce Straley, like their names like merge, which is like really cool.
Yeah, I like those little quirks, and you always get the humour with the Uncharted games as well.
Oh, the dialogue is so good, between them.
It is good,
and it's really clever how like the game is smart enough to know that if say you're in the car in Madagascar. And Sully's telling you a story, and you jump out the car.
Yeah.
He doesn't just carry on telling the story like it's a scripted thing.
Yeah.
He goes, "Hey, where are you going?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Get back."
And it picks up when.
And then he's like, "Oh," and then you get back in the car. You're like, "So where was I?" It's like, "Oh yeah." And then it's like.
It's clever. It is clever. Yeah.
I know that sounds like a little thing, but it makes a big difference.
It does make a big difference. They've thought of everything, but we wouldn't expect anything less from Naughty Dog.
No, it's so good. There's gonna have to take something very, very special to knock this off. My game of the year perch.
It's ditto. Looking at what we've got for the rest of this year and what we've had so far, it's going to take some beating.
Yeah. So like we've been talking here for almost 50 minutes, and I could keep talking for another 50 minutes about it if I wanted to.
Yeah.
But we'll probably call it there. It's already our longest video.
I'm sure we've got nobody else watching now. It's just the 3 of us now.
I don't care.
Even the camera's turned off.
Yeah. Just as well I cleared all that memory before.
Yeah.
I told you.
So there you go. That's
not such a 20-minute video this week.
No. But for Uncharted, we always make an exception. It is a glorious game. It's a must play. Hopefully, if you're watching this video, you've already played it, because otherwise we've pretty much spoiled all the story for you. But it's definitely one worth playing more than once as well. Like I said, you notice you could hear from Ash there were certain things that maybe he didn't quite hear or get, and you pick them up every time you play them. So listen to all the optional conversations, read all the story. So much there. So good. That's it.
Very good.
Just under 50 minutes.
Yeah.
Let us know down below what some of your favourite moments are from Uncharted 4 and from the franchise in general. It's a shame that it's come to the end, but it was definitely a fitting end.
And worth waiting for the delay on the game as well.
Yeah. I would have been happy if I'd already played it sooner, but it doesn't make matter now, does it? So. But no, thank you for sharing your thoughts. Ash, thank you.
Yeah.
And everyone, thanks for watching. We will see you all next time.